Welcome to another edition of the Analog Studio Barn Find Restoration and Archival Project. I am Stephen Stone. Today I had a friend over who's an expert on vintage speakers, and he suggested we do a speaker comparison between a couple of the speaker cabinets that we found in the back laying around. He was particularly interested in two of them. One had a pair of Jensen Deltas. These are vintage old speakers. And the other was a pair of vintage Celestions and how they would sound compared to a reissued Jensen C12N that he brought over. The Jensen C12N reissue is in the upper right, sitting on top of the Fender Bassman amp, single 12-inch mounted. The Celestion Vintage 10 with a two-speaker setup is on the bottom right, underneath the Fender Bassman with the white vinyl. The Jensen Delta series with the Delta 120 and 220, which are slightly different speakers. The 220 has like a voice coil over it, and those two speakers were combined in a cabinet, and that is with that's on the bottom left with the brown Tolux. So from the back wall, we pulled off the Fender Bassman head, which he said is actually a really great guitar head. And we plugged that into, plugged in one of the vintage Stratocasters that was on the rack. I'd put some new strings on it, some 10 gauge, like the Ernie balls. The idea was to do a direct comparison between three different speaker configurations, two of them vintage and the one reissue in the single 12. So they're all using the same amplifier and guitar Fender Stratocaster with the Bassman head. So everything's the same. Use the neck pickup setting on the Strat so that we could get a better feeling how the speakers would react, particularly in the lower frequencies. The settings on the Bassman head were all set neutral to 5 with the master volume on 3. So let's see how they sound.
So right now we have the 2x10
So what do we have?
Celestion Vintage 10s.
So what's in the, which one are we in right now?
This guy, 2x10
What kind of speakers?
Celestion Vintage 10s.
And we're using the Fender Bassman 70.
Right? Going to a 112 C12N speaker.
Now what is that speaker?
It's a C12N,
Which is what?
which is
A Jensen?
a Jensen C12N.
A Jensen C12, and that's a 12-inch.
All right. Definitely brighter.
Yeah, a little brighter, a little more kind of mid-rangey, isn't it?
Now we're going to the 212
Greenback Jensen.
Jensen Delta series.
The Delta, yeah.
It's a 120 and a 220 mixed together.
A Delta 120
And a 220.
and a Delta 220 mixed together. Wow. All right, let's hear that one again. Back with the two tens.
210s.
So from this tone here to,
Okay,
back
210.
two tens.
Nothing to be ashamed of.
It's very harsh though compared to it doesn't have that sweet.
That thing, it comes alive. It's like, you know.
I mean, this sounds really good, but it has those harsh overtones.
It's also a 10-inch versus 12-inch. So that's
the 12, huh?
the magnets on the 12s are, you know, way more. You can probably EQ this with a pedal or something to give it the warmth and sustain that thing has, but this is straight.
Right, no, just as straight. The whole idea here is just, there's nothing. There's a Stratocaster guitar and a Fender Bassman tube amp going straight into these speakers. I mean, start there and get the tone. Just a guitar.
Back to the 12, which is
12.
super punchy bright.
It doesn't have the richness. The one speaker it's lacking. The tone is pretty good, but it doesn't have that. It doesn't have that two speaker.
I wonder if you took this speaker and put another C12 in. See, those are C12s, but they're not. So this one's definitely got punch, brightness. And then we're going to go back to the Holy Grail again, because we can't stop listening to it.
Something about Fender too, doesn't it? I mean, certainly this Stratocaster and
it's like an old man versus a teenager. It's just got all sorts of like soul and tone to it. quick. That doesn't sound horrible. I get more used to that 210, you know.
Yeah, there's something to the double speaker setup that gives a kind of a shimmer to the sound.
Yeah, but it's also like it's not as harsh. Like that one.
Well, that's a wrap, and I think the Jensen two speaker 12-inch Delta series, the 120 and the 220, just killed as far as tone and detail, and nothing harsh, but just kind of everything there is just absolutely a incredible, magical sounding setup. The vintage Celestion 210s, very nice sounding combination there, but compared to the Delta series, yeah, just not really quite what that is. And the single reissue Jensen, if you heard that by itself, sounds really good. But I think the two speaker setup, gives that kind of shimmer, something special on that, and we see that in the classic Fender twin reverb, and a lot of other amplifiers have modeled after that. So there you have it. Love to know what you think. Leave your comments here, and would love to get a conversation started about that, thoughts, and we'll look forward to seeing you on the next episode of the Analog Studio Barn Find Restoration Project and Archival Project. So please subscribe to the channel here, and I invite you to come and share this unfolding mystery and journey with me. Thanks a lot. We'll see you next time.